Our next part of the agenda of this fine program is our panel. And our panel will be moderated today by Haynes Hendrickson, who heads up the Turnkey Intelligence Division. And he oversees the sales, service, and execution of Turnkey Intel's custom market research, surveyor, and prospector platforms within the professional sports and entertainment industries. He joined Turnkey Sports in September 2005. And prior to joining Turnkey, Haynes spent 6 years as director, direct response marketing for Turnkey Sports Enterprises, overseeing all the database marketing and market research initiatives for KSE. Haynes provided market demographic, geographic, and psychographic, which I have no idea what that is, analysis for KSE sponsorship marketing and ticket sales. And his first job in professional sports was with his hometown favorite Philadelphia Phillies for 5 years. Haynes is a graduate of the University of Vermont. He's an avid skier, golfer, and runner with 12 marathons and 70.3 half Ironman. I have considerably less than that, by the way. Part of the other members of the panel, we introduced some heavy hitters within the Philadelphia area. Dave Buck, Senior Vice President, Marketing and Advertising Sale for the Philadelphia Phillies. Dave, a lifelong Phillies fan, living his dream. Over 20 years of experience with the club, was promoted to Senior Vice President, Marketing and Advertising Sales in February 2007. In his role, David oversees the Phillies marketing department, encompassing advertising, sales, events, fan development, broadcasting, video services, advertising, merchandising, and promotions. Prior to his promotion, David was Vice President of Advertising Sales for 8 seasons with the Phillies. He oversaw the transition from Veterans Stadium to Citizens Bank Park from a sponsorship perspective and helped conceive and implement strategy of bringing all advertising elements, that's television, radio, signage, print, and promotions, under the control of the Phillies. Additionally, David led the club's team that entered the 25-year naming rights partnership with Citizens Bank. That's good work. He's born in Abington, PA. He attended Springfield High School, graduated from Lafayette College in 1986 with a BA in history, and he stays connected to Lafayette by hosting students each off-season in an externship program. Also serves on the board of directors of the Please Touch Museum, the children's museum located there in Philadelphia. David's also involved with St. Joseph's University as a member with myself on the Sports Marketing Advisory Board, and he currently lives in Broad Axe, PA, has 3 children, Andrew, Katie, and Jake, and his wife, Nancy, and a dog. And as far as I can tell, he's only made one mistake in his life, Dave, and right, did not going with 97.5 with the Phillies broadcast. That's okay. We'll get you later. We have Lara Price, who's with us today. And Lara is the Vice President of Business Operations for the 76ers, Senior Vice President, entering her 12th season with the organization. And when she was elevated to Vice President of Marketing in 1998, she became only one of 18 female vice presidents in the NBA, promoted to her current position in 2003, and will continue to coordinate the day-to-day activities of the 76ers business operation closely through, obviously, the new ownership and the new general manager and all the good stuff that's happening with the Sixers. She's a recipient of several awards for excellence in advertising and public relations. Price joins the 76ers in 1996 as Director of Marketing after serving as Manager of Team Services for the NBA. She's also served as Director of Team Services for the Continental Basketball Association. She went to Colorado State University, native of Boulder, Colorado. It's beautiful out there, Lara. And she also played on the women's basketball team, currently residing in suburban Philadelphia. Next panelist, Ari Roitman, Senior Vice President, Business, Philadelphia Eagles, and Ari's a newcomer to the Philadelphia Eagles, joined the Eagles in December 2010 as the Senior Vice President of Business. In his role, Roitman oversees revenue generation for the Eagles across key business areas such as corporate partnerships and premium sales, and directs the team's strategies tied to the monetization of media assets. For the 2013 season, he will assume all team marketing initiatives, including branding and fan engagement, as well as research and analytics. Prior to his time with the Eagles, Ari spent 9 years at Major League Baseball's corporate offices in Manhattan, starting as an account executive in 2001, and advancing to serve as the vice president of corporate sales and marketing for his final 2 years with the league. He is a 1998 graduate of Cornell University with a degree in psychology. You can figure, and after the conference, he figures us all out. He also worked for 3 years at SFX Sports Group before his tenure with Major League Baseball. Next panelist is Dave Rowan, Executive Vice President and Chief Revenue Officer with the Philadelphia Union. Prior to joining the Union, Dave spent he was a director of sports sales for CBS Radio, where he was responsible for selling integrated sponsorship for all Philadelphia's major sports teams, including the Eagles, Phillies, Flyers, and 76ers. Prior to joining CBS Radio, he served as the Vice President of Corporate Sales for the Eagles, overseeing all the team's corporate partnerships, promotions, and naming rights, negotiations, and presentations. Dave also played a major role in closing one of the largest stadium rights deals in league history with Lincoln Financial Field Group, and the largest for a team practice facility with NovaCare. His department continued to thrive in Lincoln Financial Field's first year of operation, establishing the Eagles as one of the top revenue-producing teams in the NFL. He spent 3 seasons as the Director of Corporate Sales for the Jacksonville Jaguars, developing the corporate sales plans for the team in the first year of its existence, including naming rights and multiple 7-figure owner circle marketing relationships. He was also in charge of the team's in-house broadcast department. 1984 graduate of Penn State University. He began his career with the Phillies, first as the general manager of the Clearwater Phillies, and then later as an account executive in corporate sales for the Major League franchise. And finally, Cindy Stutman, Vice President of Consumer Relations Solutions with the Philadelphia Flyers. She recently completed her 10th season with the Flyers. She was promoted to the position of Vice President of Consumer Solutions in November 2007. In her role, she's responsible for the creation and execution of added value benefits and programs for season ticket holders, as well as overseeing the activities and development of customer service department and the ticket office. Stutman joined the Flyers in 2003 as a customer service manager, and prior to joining the Flyers, she was the customer service manager with the Philadelphia 76ers for 5 seasons. Graduated from the University of Massachusetts Amherst, bachelor degree in science and marketing, sports management, and she resides in Philadelphia. That is our panel, I believe. So to convene it, let's bring up Haynes Hendrickson. Haynes?
So by far the biggest, longest intro of a panel ever. Killed a good 10 minutes of our time.
You two that are fighting, that's great. Good.
So if it wasn't obvious, we do have a slate of heavy hitters here representing the 5 teams in Philadelphia. And we are going to focus on the at-event experience, but I feel like I would like to start. And you guys didn't all just apply for a job and you became senior vice president of business for the Philadelphia Phillies. But for the younger group in here, I'd love it if you could tell us just real quickly how you started in sports. What was your first job?
Intern with the Phillies. Mike Schmidt had retired, and my job was to stick Rick Shoe calculators in the envelope, 17,000 of them, and mail them out to our season ticket holders because Rick Shoe was going to be our next big thing. And I did that for a year. I got another internship, and then I got hired. Kind of like you. Haynes was our intern for a year, and then we hired him. Your wife's not here, is she?
No.
Because he dated about half the girls that worked for us in those 3 or 4 years. But
That's good.
yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
Didn't have the typical route where I worked in sports. I didn't have the foresight to work in the sports information department. I just knew I wanted to work in sports. So I could not get a job in sports graduating from college. I was working at my best friend's parents' liquor store. Their uncle knew that I wanted to be in sports. He did the travel for the CBA. I told him that. The job opened up as a marketing assistant, and I got the job and then worked my way up as a director in 3 years. And from there I parlayed that into my job at the NBA. And from there I went to the
I was a unpaid intern right out of college with a very small sports agency in New York called the Marquee Group, which was subsequently bought by SFX. My job was, in essence, to dub and edit tapes in the tape room. The agency had a lot of broadcast talent, guys like Chris Berman of ESPN and Jack Edwards, who is no longer with ESPN. But my job was really to set the video racks, edit their highlight reels together. Spent about 6 months doing that, and then I got the opportunity to go on tour with the women's national soccer team right at the time that they won the World Cup in 1999. And that was my first real opportunity out of the tape room.
Being the very eldest of this, 1981, Major League Baseball had a in-season strike, and I lived in Reading, and Reading Phillies were doing about 1,200 people a game. All of a sudden, their attendance went to over 5,000 a game. And I knew the owner from being around the area, and he said, "Hey, we need some help." So I go out with my glove, and I'm ready to go. Where do I go? Go down by left field. I go look for a locker room because I thought shag balls, whatever. Come back in, and he was flavorful, let me just say, Mr. I said, "I didn't see the locker room." He said, "Did you see the Coke wagon?" "Yes." "Congratulations." That's how I got started, and I started while I was going to school, worked in minor league baseball, and then had the fortune to work.
I started as an intern as well at Comcast Spectacor in the group sales department in the building that's no longer there in the Spectrum, and was just sort of in the right place at the right time when the NBA lockout was ending in '99. And Lara was good enough to hire me in her organization, and I went with the Sixers and was there for about 5 years till I moved to the Flyers and then was starting customer service department.
Great. All right, so we're going to get into a little bit more of the meat of what we're going to talk about, the at-event experience. We'll get to, I think we go to 11:30, maybe at about quarter after. We'll see if there's some questions, so write down your questions before then. But the fans' expectations of what they're going to get at the event have just continued to grow. We are spending hard-earned dollars, but we want more than just the game. So I want to ask the panel, how much of your day-to-day job do you focus on what is going to happen at the game, the experience that the fan is going to experience? And anybody, we don't always have to go down the line here, but
I can tell you my job is to talk to fans. I'm in customer service specifically. So we're hearing things all the time, whether we proactively ask them or not. Philadelphia fans are vocal, and they'll tell you what they think, whether you ask or not. But we put a lot of tools in place so we can get their feedback and so we can hear what they want, hear what they're looking for. So we do advisory boards with our season ticket holders. We have a Facebook page just for season ticket holders. So, I mean, in our building, it's a little bit different. On any given night, 80% of the building could be a season ticket holder. That's really where a lot of our focus is. So we're asking them what they want, and then we're trying to give it to them as best they can, because we found when you ask a lot of times you're going to get answers that you can't always provide solutions for. So when we ask, undoubtedly, they want the team to win and they want cheaper tickets. And the economics of our game aren't that way that we can just slash tickets because people are asking for it. So we're trying to find ways to add value and listening to them and trying to do that as often as we can.
they don't always say they frequently want a variety of food. There's subtleties to what they expect in their experience, but they are always going to say, I want the team to win, and
Right.
But you do focus, you invest a lot in your buildings to build out the experience. How do you determine what are the priorities? Because, we here on the panel don't have the ability to win.
Sure, we're listening to what they're telling us, and service is a big thing for us, and as long as we're providing service at a high level, we think we can figure the rest of it out as we go, and we're doing that. We're listening, and we're trying to come up with programs that meet what they're telling us they want at that time.
So for us, our arena is not full right now. We have to find ways to increase revenues, so we have to look at the sections of tickets that are selling, and we have to increase ticket prices, and that's not always very favorable to fans. So we really have to look at ways to add value to the customer. So I'll use our courtside seats, for example. We tried a program this year, and we spent a lot of time thinking about it over the summer and worked with Aramark and Comcast Spectacor in delivering it. So we basically created a waitstaff service for our courtside seat holders. They had 8 passes of food during the game, which we thought it would be a great idea. They got all kinds of different food, very exotic food. We were doing shrimp. They would do dessert passes. We were doing the stadium staples. And it we got feedback very quickly that that was not what they wanted. We were interrupting the game, which seems very obvious, but we were trying to do the servers behind. So we created an infrastructure with increased servers. We had the technology that Aramark got in there so we could do orders immediately. So it was all-inclusive food and beverage. So we tweaked it, but we basically are paying $70 a head of increased value for all-inclusive food and beverage, and they can now go into our Lexus Courtside Club. So we're really trying to find ways that we can increase ticket prices in the key areas for us, which is the Courtside and the Center Six. So just looking at that stuff every day and trying to figure out how we increase the value so we can increase ticket prices accordingly.
Part of your question was, how do you know what the fans want? It's an evolving process. It changes all the time. If you look at what we do now from when we opened 10 years ago in 2004, it's radically different. I think it's radically different from what it was 3 years ago. Whether it's the food, the types of food you have, the service you have, the parking. Every time someone comes to you, they're touched by a different experience. To the entertainment. I mean, 4 years ago, we didn't have Irish night and German night, and we have 11 different theme or cultural nights. They're huge. They're great. I mean, Sarah's here, and she went to St. Joe's, and she started with an internship, and it's all working out. But those theme nights are unbelievable. And like we have it one year, and the next year, like the Irish band, the Irish dancers, they call us and they say, we want to be part of that. And so it changes each year, and you add things, and things that don't work, you take it away, and you go a different direction.
I think all these are the right answers because there are so many right answers, and there are so many issues that you have to constantly deal with and adapt. And Chris said it best in his presentation. The value of going to a game continues to rise as we raise ticket prices, but that experience as a fan, it's got to be commensurate. And that's what keeps us up at night. So measuring what makes that experience great, how long is it taking them to come into the Comcast gate at Lincoln Financial Field? We've got a wonderful tradition of tailgating, and people wait till about 12:35. And at 12:35, it's, oh my God, the game's kicking in 25 minutes, I got to get in the stadium, and we're dealing with lines, and we can't process people fast enough. So how are we going to address that? Well, we're going to create more security lanes. We're going to widen the gates. We're going to do whatever we need to do to make their experience better. How long has it taken them to get food on the concourse outside section 125? It's too long if it's more than just a couple minutes. Well, we got to address that. And so it's listening to fans for sure, listening to our season ticket holders, but it's also monitoring and measuring the experience they have through the means which we have at our disposal without even talking to them. And that's crucial for us. I think it's crucial for probably everyone sitting up here.
Common sense, to me, is the most important thing that anybody can have. We're not, I'm not the smartest person out there, but if you listen, observe, survey, talk to people, and engage with people, people always want to hear that you talk to them. Whether it's a social platform, whether it's face-to-face, they will tell you what they want. A salesperson isn't a salesperson, they're a consultant. You don't sell them what you're trying to sell them, you provide them what they want to buy. Our fans tell us all the time what they want, how they want it, and then it's our role on a daily basis to work with our staffs and to look at what are the resources that we have. Major League Soccer, we don't have a big TV contract. We pay to have our games on television. We have to look at the event and deliver an unbelievable event experience to the fans that come to that game. The things we heard this year was, well, we don't get into, they come to the game late. Concession prices were too high. So we took a step back a couple weeks ago and said, let's reduce our concession prices before the game. Some people were concerned, you're going to kill your per cap. Our per cap went up by $2.50. We had people down in the game earlier. We had a ticket increase for us, which is a significant increase. From Friday to Wednesday of the game, we had over 1,000 tickets sold. Normally, we'd sell about 300. Common sense, KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid, or sir. You listen to people, you build what you have off the resources, and you service, service, service. It's pretty simple.
Ari, you have 8 chances during the year to give somebody a good experience. Bucky, you have 81 chances a year. Is there more pressure on you, Ari?
It's unfair.
Oh my gosh, no, this is easy. They open the door and people flock to see them.
We're thankful for Dave's perspective.
And you have, I mean, you were in baseball for many years, so you felt that side of it, not at a team side, but what's the difference?
Yeah, you can look at that a number of different ways, right? I have the utmost respect for anyone who works at the local level in baseball because of the commitment that comes with 81. But there's no question that the pressure's ramped up. The touch points are few and far between for partners, for season ticket holders, for premium partners. They become much more important, especially in this day and age when customer satisfaction is vital. So we don't get the opportunity. It can be a positive, right? I mean, you know, it's fewer events, right? We're working fewer events, and it can be a substantial negative because we have far fewer opportunities to get in front of them. And when we go 4-12, followed by, you know, a year following 8-8, well, guess what? That's not very good. And we're sitting with fans who are angry. And it doesn't matter if you're pushing them through security faster. It doesn't matter if you're serving that, you know, hot dog faster. We were 4-12. And so there are things we can control and there are things we can't. But our job is to make that experience as good as it possibly can. And I'll give you one more example. And I think we're all dealing with this, but the NFL is specifically. You look around the league, you look at Jacksonville and San Diego and Oakland and some other significant traditional football markets, and there are local blackouts because they're not selling out their building. And the reason they're not selling out their building may in part be due to team performance, but without question is due to the quality of the viewing experience at home. You got your 60-inch flat screen, you got your computer, your laptop on your right with your fantasy team, you got your iPad on your left with Twitter so you can see what snarky comments the columnists are making or radio hosts are making as the game is going on. And I think it went right over his head. He's not paying attention. But anyway, yeah, he's tweeting. He's tweeting the snarky comments now. But you know, that's the experience. So, you know, we're dealing with a building that 2 years ago couldn't handle the number of smartphones that we're trying to access via Verizon, our partner, and via AT&T. So we enhanced what's called the distributed antenna system. We're putting in Wi-Fi. We're making sure that when you come to a game, you're still going to be able to access out-of-town scores. You're still going to be able to access your fantasy team, and it's going to be lightning fast because that's what you expect at home, and there can't be a difference. And there's got to be unique content because you're getting different content at home. So that's what we're focused on, and yeah, it ratchets up the pressure because, you know, you're only dealing with really 10 touch points.
And I'll stick up for Ari here. Their game is much more structured than ours. We have 3 hours. It's a lot slower pace. You can walk around. You have 17 or 18 natural breaks in it. I mean, your game starts at 1. Everybody sits down. There's a break at the end of the quarter. Everybody runs out to do things. So you have to make your experience better, and I think it's harder for you guys than it is for us right now.
It's awkward because I don't think we've ever, you know, been on the same side of the coin. So,
Oh, don't worry, it'll switch.
Last I checked, you guys don't work for nonprofits, so revenue drives everything. So there's media rights, there's ticket sales, and sponsorships are really the core pieces of revenue. The immersion of sponsors in the experience at the event has changed significantly. So tell me, in your organizations, examples of how effective sponsor activations that don't disrupt the experience but enhance the experience. And I'll give you one good example. I've always been impressed with the U.S. Open, and American Express does some great activation at the U.S. Open, the tennis U.S. Open. And if you are an American Express holder, you get maybe a viewing, a little tablet to take to the courts, and you can watch all the other courts. And they have done a great job immersing themselves and giving a benefit to their card holders and adding to the experience. Everybody wants to be an American Express holder when they're at the U.S. Open. So give me any examples of ways that some of your partners have done a good job in enhancing the experience.
Can't say that this is a successful ROI for our sponsor, but they love it. McDonald's, once we score 100 points, the building goes completely nuts. It's great exposure. We promote it. Our CEO tweets it out. And we've had issues where the players have been told not to shoot, and we're at 98 points, and they're pointing at the coach saying, I can't score. So it's been an unbelievably successful promotion for us. So we asked McDonald's to track it for us after every game that we were over 100 points. And the redemptions were 10, 4, but the crowd literally standing ovations. So It's very successful for them. I wish I could say that it drove their bottom line more, and it didn't, but they do it because of the association with us. That's not one of those examples I like to say that it helped them with the revenue, but the exposure that they receive, the positive response that it gets them, they feel that that's a return on investment for them, and it's been a very good fan engagement, which adds value to again, to the experience at the game.
Imagine a sport that you're watching at home or you're at the game and there's not a commercial during the game. Soccer. Again, I came from football and baseball. I'm like, well, where do we sell the commercial spots? Where do we run the video board feature for the Dunkin' Donuts play of the game or the Smile Cam? Soccer doesn't have that. It's unbelievable. So how do you drive your revenue? It's not one specific area. It really is that integrated approach. So from our social media prior to games and tying our partners in, tying our ticket back to our partners, our plaza outside of the game where we have our interactive games and our touch points with our expo tents of the partners. It's great for them. It's great for us because you get people into the gate earlier. Into the gate earlier is more revenue. In the stadium, again, there's not commercial breaks in soccer. It takes me off because it's hard. Try developing that revenue. So you have to, again, we try to hit our fans with our partners with multiple hits rather than just, yes, they have a sign. Integration from social media. It's the engagement at the stadium out front. It's the engagement of activities at the retail locations. It's creating programming back to their areas and empowering their employees. Soccer is a communal sport. So that's really the approach we have to take with our partners is provide a communal opportunity to hit that prospective customer or their current one multiple times.
I think it's the fine line that we have to walk in raising revenue, but making sure the experience is good. And it's not like there's a book that says you can do this and can't do that. I think it's just we sit around a meeting and the sponsor wants to do this, and we're like, that's not going to work, so let's go this way. Whether it's AT&T and charging your cell phones, that works. At all of our gates, we have, and everybody does it, we have sponsor locations. We don't force it at you. You can walk by. You don't have to take what's there. So it's kind of like up to the fan if they want to be part of what the sponsor's doing. Out on Citizens Bank Way, we have several times a year, we close it down, and we have a giant street fair. And that, to me, is the best, where we give out free ice cream from Turkey Hill or games, whatever's going on there. It's a place where fans want to go.
How much do the sponsors drive like a new creative idea? As a follow-up to that is when somebody has a new idea, let's just say before Dollar Dog Days started, and then they became successful in Hatfield, I don't know when they built the cannon or something like that. I mean, at what point does it become that not only it was a good idea, it was successful, now we are gonna charge more for it?
And Dollar Dog's a great example. So going back, I think we actually started that maybe at the vet. It wasn't really working. And then when they said, well, why don't we shoot out hot dogs with the Fanatic? And we literally had a slingshot. And they said, you weren't going to make a bigger one. And we waited like 3 months. And we kept saying, where is it, where is it? They showed up with a truck with the pneumatic cannon that shoots out the hot dogs. They've sold that to like 5 other teams. Like, we didn't come up with that idea. We were like, we had a nice big slingshot. And they have a giant cannon that works. So we have the event for the Fanatic going there. So now we go to Citizens Bank Park. We had college days, if you remember, for the first couple of years. College days turned into, for 2 or 3 years, there was St. Joe's was a big hooligan school that came down, and they would get in fights with other schools. And it turned into a negative. So we had these great college days where we had discounts and so forth. We still do the same concept. We just don't call them college days. We turn them into Dollar Dog Days. We beefed up security. We changed the whole concept of what college days were to Hatfield Dollar Dog Days. And so it just kind of evolved over the years that it worked out.
In terms of the ideas and how they're generated, I think it works both ways. So I think you're going to have organizations, and we do this all the time. We'll get into a room, we've whiteboarded the whole thing. Literally every single wall in the room is a big whiteboard, and we just go. Those are actually some of the most fun meetings we have in the building because we're just throwing stuff up there and seeing what might work. Obviously, there's really 2 goals there. The first is coming up with something that's really going to obviously benefit the organization in some way. But sure, in the back of your mind, you're always saying, well, we also want to build something that's going to be sellable. We'd like to monetize it. If we're going to execute it, well, we want to support it, and we want a partner to support it because we're only going to take it so far. right? I mean, this gets to activation. We're only going to take a concept so far. We want the media budgets and the ad budgets that a partner brings to the table to take it even further, and that's vital. And then, you know, the other way is obviously sitting down with partners after every year and understanding what went right, understanding what went wrong, listening, which is probably the most important thing all of us do up here, listening to partners' goals and objectives. And in some cases, you hope that you're batting 1,000. Everything's working great. More than likely, not the case. And so you tweak and you change and you adjust on the fly. And that's also where some really good ideas come from, is sitting down every year with these partners that you're getting to know better and better and coming up with different concepts that work.
I think that you guys are going to keep hearing the word integrated platforms. We kind of do the same thing at the Sixers. We actually come up with sheets of paper and we do it across all the platforms, so whether it's social media, in-game TV, radio, event marketing, and we literally try to do our homework so we're not putting the cart before the horse, because that's, we think we have these great ideas and it doesn't always match what the sponsors want. So we do our best that we can to educate ourselves on what the sponsors' needs are, maybe products that are going to be introduced. We take that product or that event or whatever service it is, and we do it across platforms and try to come up with ideas that we think will work with our arena, our fans, as Dave alluded to. There's a lot of times that fans come up with these great ideas and they absolutely do not work in arena. We know our fans better than anybody, and we know our season ticket holders better than anybody. And, a lot of times you're saying we don't want to take your money because we know this isn't going to work. Well, we have to do it, and then it flukes. And in Philadelphia, fans love to boo. They boo Santa Claus. So you have to be very careful about that because you don't want the sponsor to have that kind of experience. But integrated platforms are absolutely critical in this day and age, and it does need to be across all platforms to be successful. And sponsors are looking for that now from us. We're not like back in the day where you sold a relationship. That exists somewhat still, but it's getting away from that, and they want an ROI, and they want to see the analytics on how we're helping them sell their products and services, so that's absolutely critical.
So this is, no one's going to know the exact answer to this because there is no answer to it, but do you ever think about what percentage of the game day experience is affected positively or negatively by the win or the loss? The hot dogs taste better when you win, but how much worse do they taste when you lose?
I can tell you 2 years ago we had a pretty rough season. We had some game plans that didn't see a win all year. And we get a lot more complaints when the team isn't doing well. The sun shines brighter, everything's a little bit better when they win over the long haul. On a game-by-game basis, it really depends how the game goes. There's a lot of factors that can come into play, but it plays a big part. I mean, that's why they're there at the end of the day, to see the team, to see the game.
It affects us. I mean, Phillies lose to the Marlins 2 nights ago, and I'm bummed out all day Tuesday. Like, not super bummed out, but I'm bummed out. So, if it affects us, it affects the fans the same way.
It affects the radio stations, how they treat us the next day, and how our day's going to be. Right, Mike?
I think we're all a lot smarter and a lot better when the team's winning, too. Everything seems to work. A lot more compliments and a lot more.
Your counterparts around sports call you and say, how did you do that?
Right.
The lines are longer. The food took longer. There were more incidents in the parking lots. You could go down a list. It's unbelievable. We actually we do a lot of research as everyone up here does, but we also do some significant and Haynes, you've been intimately involved in some of these studies. Some studies post game at 3-4 games a year. And we're praying. I mean, we're just praying that we win those games, or at least win a couple, because there is a difference. There's a difference in what people are going to tell you about their experience after a loss than what they'll tell you after a win. There's no question. It's an amplification, up and down.
It's amazing how many of our clients call us after a loss and say, don't launch that survey. Right. We don't want the comments to come back. All right, so in a couple of minutes, still think of some questions. So back to the younger people here that are going to be calling you shortly to find out how to get into sports. And I kind of tipped this question to Dave and Ari earlier today, but I'll ask it in an opposite way. I asked them earlier, traditionally, what are the key traits that you look for in somebody? But I'll switch it and say, what are the absolute turnoffs from a young person trying to approach you, a young person trying to contact you? What are some things that you would say do not do?
No, right?
I tricked you.
Look, for me, and Mike said it at the outset. Look, we're all we were all in your chair. Every single one of us was sitting where you are today. And we were thinking, how on earth am I going to break into this industry? How on earth am I going to be successful in this industry? And what's my path going to be? So hopefully that's some level of comfort. But as you go about it, and as you reach out to any one of us, or Mike, or Chris, or anyone else who you're going to hear from today, there is a science to it. And there are people who do it better than others. And you need to be aggressive, but you need to be tactful. You need to stay on top of things, you need to follow up, but you need to do it in a manner and communicate the right way where we're not feeling like it's our absolute responsibility to help you, even though many of us do feel it's our responsibility to help every single one of you who reaches out to us, because I know I feel that way. But there's a way of communicating, and you have to find that balance, and it's not easy. It's tough to write an email and do it in a way where the person reading it is going to feel a certain desire to help you, as opposed to, I can't believe that person literally just said, please get back to me by 3 p.m. today. I mean, that's just crazy.
That happens. I cannot tell you how many times I get an email. Oh, I emailed you on Monday, and today's Wednesday, and you haven't responded yet. It's going to take a lot longer now for me to respond to that.
You do that to me all the time.
At least he responds eventually.
A week later, I get it.
You reversed the question on us, so I'll do it this way as well. Really the same answer. I had a coach one time who said, that guy over there, he has a lot of fake hustle. Fake hustle is when somebody's watching you, you're busting your ass. Anybody can do that. It's when you're not being watched, or when you take it on your own to take that next extra step. So, no fake hustle. Put it out there. If you're going to do it, do it. Do it because you care. If you don't like this business, you're going to work some long-ass hours. Do it because you want to do it. Do it that drives you every single day. That's number one. Number two is, again, goes back to common sense. Integrity. Respect people that work with you, below you, above you, around you. Respect people. Have those two characteristics, and you have a passion for this business or sports or entertainment, you're going to be successful. You'll find your path because you'll help make your path in working with people.
This business is about relationships, and it's about attitude. And you're never gonna to go far in this business with a negative attitude, because, like Dave mentioned, it's long hours. We're there nights, we're there weekends, we're there holidays. So it's, at times it can be draining and it's a lot of work. So it's about keeping people around you positive, and don't be, someone came and spoke with us one time and talked about being an energy vampire, those people that sort of suck the energy out of a room, and that's not the person you want to be. But attitude is so important, because especially on an entry level, you have someone's interviewing for an entry level position. To me, I can teach you how to use our ticketing system. I can teach you how the processes that we do, but I can't teach you to come in there and respect people and be positive and be easy to work with.
I had one thing, because Cindy said it. Every one of us up here hires on what we'll all call it something different. I call it DNA fit. How are you going to fit in with the DNA of the organization? And we're all building a certain culture. And Dave, you actually said it before we started to Haynes. It's about being a good human being at the core of it. It is about relationships, as Cindy said. You have to be able to connect with people. You have to be able to trust people. And most importantly, they have to be able to trust you. That's paramount.
All right, any questions? Anybody want to raise their hand? Yes.
My question is for the whole board. As a college student, as a young adult, just wondering what specific measures you guys and the teams in general are taking to attract and to market to the college students, the young adult audience, who are typically some of the best fans you might have, the most passionate fans you might have. How are you trying to get them involved in the team and into the game rather than just sitting back and watching?
I think we spend a lot of effort on our college outreach, whether it's group nights. I think we probably do 6 or 7 of the college group nights, anywhere from they come down, they buy 500 tickets, they throw out the first ball. We can do fundraisers for them. The dance team will dance in the dugout with a fanatic. The band will come out and play. They'll come down and do the kiosk. So we started it a couple years ago with like 1 or 2, and it's taken off, and so it's very, very important to us.
We've done stuff in the past where we've done $10 tickets for students. What some of the problems that we find is, and I guess it's not the same problem for the Phillies because they come, is just transportation coming down there. Because then if they have a car and they got to pay for parking, it's $20 for that. Then you're not really want to pushing alcohol sales, which if we did beer specials, I'm sure that would drive more students coming. So it's just a fine balance, but we always actively try to reach out to them, doing it more social media than anything now and trying to offer ticket discounts that way.
Soccer is a very young audience. 72% of our fans are under 49 years old. 39% of them are between 18 and 32. Director of Marketing and Special Events is a St. Joe's grad, is here today, Ashley Dabb, and she has really worked in this past year to develop a college ambassadors program that we have multiple students at each school engaging and getting our word out there. We've got to fight every day for relevance. We're not, we're only 3.5 years old. So we have to fight for relevance every day. So it's being on campus, it's doing these type of things. Our internship program, we wouldn't survive without internships. We have over 35 interns, as Sean knows, and other people, and that really gives us, again, touch points back to each of the universities. Those are the things that, under Ashley's direction and other people, we have grown in that college space and will continue.
I have a question. Are you guys going to use augmented reality to use for fan activation?
We actually did last year. So last year, when your tickets arrived, you could hold your phone up over the ticket and, I got to pick the right player.
LaShawn McCoy.
Yeah. And so if you held it up over LaShawn McCoy, you'd immediately, get linked to a video of his highlights from the prior year. So we actually did that. We were the first team in the NFL to do it with augmented reality. We're not doing it this year. But it was tough to measure. It was tough to measure how effective it was. I think it's cool. I think it's a great technology. And I think it's fun to say you're the first to do augmented reality, from tickets in the entire NFL. I'm not quite sure what it gained for us, and that's the tough part with a lot of these new apps and new social executions, but it certainly was cool.
Yes, hi. I have a question. I already spoke to it earlier. How do you balance the rising cost of the live event, especially for the younger fan, against all the opportunities to experience the game not in the actual arena? With all the advent of technology, it's easier to watch it on your big screen or have it on your tablet or whatever that is. But at the live event, that cost is continuing to rise. I don't know how the young fan, I'm an older fan, how do they afford to go to the game and balance that? And from your perspective, are you cognizant of that rising cost and how it affects your attendance at the live event?
The most vital thing that we think about all the time, and how to, we have 45,000 seats and there are 17 different price levels. You want to make it affordable for everybody. There are all kinds of different fans. There are the hardcore fans that want the best seats right behind home. They're the family that want the event that's going on there, and they'll go for less expensive tickets. There's a casual fan that'll come to 5 or 10 games, and that's the balancing act we do all the time. We do variable pricing, so we have 10 games that are less, 60 that are the normal price, and 10 that are more expensive. A lot of teams do dynamic pricing, which is kind of airline pricing tickets, where it changes. This one seat will change for this game, depending on what day it is and how close you get to the game. We haven't done that yet, but that could be the next thing, and then it'll show you what the value of the ticket is and what people will be willing to pay for.
I would just add to that, it's not even just about the cost of our tickets. So many people now are buying tickets on the secondary market. They're going to StubHub, and they're paying, in some cases, a lot cheaper than what we're selling them for. So we're competing with our own fans in a lot of ways, too. So they're getting them from a lot of different places, and I know we've talked to Haynes about how we're trying to capture that information, too. And what we've done is we have a deal with StubHub now, so it's very easy for a season ticket holder who pays a significant discount off of what someone coming for one game would pay. And they can just log on to an account through the Flyers and post their tickets and do a whole transaction with StubHub right online through the Flyers. So we still have tickets on sale. They're competing with us too, but we're sort of a convoluted thing because we're still helping them promote that. So what we do, we want to find out who those people are too and try to get them to buy tickets through us later, or game plans, or whatever, we'll put tags on their seats. And congratulations, you won an autograph pop, come to the sales table. And at least now we're getting some face-to-face contact with those people, find out more about them and more how we can sell to them.
It's not just about the price of the ticket, it's the cost of the whole experience. You go there to buy a hot mug of beer and all of that. And it just seems to me at some point, there's got to be this law of diminishing returns. It's so much easier today to experience the game outside of the arena with all that you have at your fingertips than to go there and spend that money. I mean, you're right, some people want to go and do that. Their entertainment dollar is geared to do it, spending it there, but it's got to be a huge balance in that to try to make that work for you from a cost perspective, especially a sponsorship perspective.
And we're 100% cognizant of that. And that's the thing. It's again, I said it before, it keeps us up at nights. So, right. And it's why we pour, in our case at least, I'll just speak for ourselves, it's why we're about to pour a significant amount of money into a 10-year-old building. Believe it or not, I mean, you come to an Eagles game right now, those boards they don't look so good, right? That signage doesn't look so good. But it's less about that, to tell you the truth, and more about, okay, how are we going to utilize those boards? It's got to be statistics. It's got to be fantasy. What are we going to do to make the experience much more like it is on the couch? Because if we don't do that, then people are going to stop coming.
And it's adding more value, entertainment, marriage, post-game concerts, bringing added value in where someone may not, be able to afford a concert ticket price at $300, but they can get a game ticket and a post-game concert. So it's just continually being creative, and we all copy each other. Someone does something, then we go, oh, that's a great idea, let's go do the same thing. We play at different times a year, so it's a little bit tougher for us and the Flyers to do things outside, like the Eagles and the Phillies are able to do, but, it's just constantly trying to steal stuff and be creative and innovative and added value wherever we can find it.
Having sat on the broadcast partner side, in addition to obviously in the team side, it's important that from a team that you get your broadcasters to show the imagery of a game. I mean, when the Eagles score a touchdown and Fly Eagles Fly goes and you hear that and you feel that, that's helping sell. And the TV broadcast can't be any good if there's not fans in the stadium. We're most known for our Sons of Ben and our imagery at games. So we've got to get our TV partners to show that. We mic'd our coach on Saturday's game, and I had him mic for the whole game. Obviously edited, but you got to show those different things. Because again, a broadcast is only as good as what's in that stadium and the passion that you feel from that.
We have one more question.
My name is Britt Kleina. I'm a master's student at Drexel University in Sport Management, and I apologize for taking away from the main topic of game day experiences, but I thought I'd take advantage of having such a great panel in front of me. You mentioned earlier what you looked at in a candidate, and as a master's student who is frequently going through the interview process, you constantly hear, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Where do you see yourself in 10 years? My question is, when you were starting out in your career, did you know your end goal? And the second follow to that would be, is it viewed as a negative thing if somebody doesn't know their path?
If you were a flower, what kind of flower do you want to be? No, I had no idea. I didn't even know there was sports marketing. I mean, I'm a little older, and there was not sports marketing when I went to school. I was a history major. So I had no idea, and when I got the job with the Phillies, it was almost like as a dare that my buddy said, you're a big sports fan. And I thought it would be fun for 2 or 3 years till like I grew up or whatever. So I don't think you need to have your end goal. I think you get in any way you can, and who knows which way you're going to go.
The big questions I get when I interview people, I get a lot of people that come and they want to be GMs. So I usually do try to decipher if they want to be on the business or the basketball operations side, because it's a very different career path. But you're coming out of college, even at your master's, we don't expect you to know what you want to do, because you might get in and like something. But, we're getting more specific in what we do with analytics. So that's a big part and a focus that we're all shifting towards. Sports typically hasn't had to do that. So, if that's your passion, that would be a more direct angle to take. But in all the other jobs, usually at an entry level, you can pretty much just get in there and then figure out which way you want to go, which is exactly what I did, like Dave said.
It's about getting a foot in the door and learning. And if you get a foot in the door and you love, where that in has placed you, then good for you. And if it's not, if you get in the door and you're in the marketing group and you realize that you really want to drive revenue and be on the sales side, then assuming you're doing your work and doing it well, and you build up that level of confidence that the organization has in you, you will have that opportunity, because we're all looking for those people.
So we were talking prior to starting today, and the recommendation I would have is don't necessarily get an internship or a job at a major league level first. Go out, whether it's college, whether it's minor league sports, whether it's an agency, because then you get to touch on so many different things. Bottle washer, you get to experience all different things. I have a daughter who will be a sophomore next year, and if she thinks she's going to walk into a major league job, forget it. Go see where your skill set is and what best suits you. And if you can't do it at a minor league or a college level, get multiple internships. Do one within this area, do one with another area. So again, you get to see it. If you are at a major league level, look around at what the other people do and what their roles are, and if that excites you, if you like that, if you want to learn more about it, ask questions.
Thanks.
At the Flyers, we're part of a bigger company with Comcast. It's so rare that someone comes in and grows within one department and stays in one department during their entire career. That someone can start with me in customer service, and we have people at Xfinity Live, and we have people doing sales, and we have people at Global Spectrum, and sort of the opportunities will happen, and you'll develop skills as you go through your career. I always find it a little hard to believe when someone is so sure coming in, right out of school, they know exactly what their path will be, because there's so much out there.
All right. Thanks a lot to everybody. I only got halfway through my questions, so we could probably go on forever. But thank you very much, everybody on the panel. And thanks for everybody for listening.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. That was very informational, very well received. And, obviously I took some shots there. I deserve them probably. But what I do it kind of plays into what they do. I always look at it like I've always had this idea about Sports Talk Radio that if you're a player or a coach, you shouldn't listen to us. But if you do what these guys do, you should listen to us, because in a way, we do marketing research for all the teams in the city. Now, sometimes it's going to frustrate you when you hear what the listeners and the callers are saying, and sometimes you're going to want to poke your eyeballs out like I do during the course of a day. But sometimes you can get a good kernel of knowledge on what your fan base thinks about you. So I think it's beneficial. Now, I have, and I want to run some conclusions past you guys that I've been able to come up with doing 20 years of Sports Talk Radio. Cindy, to me, the Flyers have the most loyal fan base. And I think that you're fortunate in that way. The Flyers can lose 7-2, and the fan base will leave that building lauding the 2 goals that they scored. And that's very helpful. I think you're in a great position, because the Flyer fan base really is loyal. They'll say things like, well, Paul Holmgren tried to get Shea Weber. And the Philly fans will say, how come Ruben Amaro didn't get Josh Hamilton? And it's a completely different perspective. Dave Rowan and the Union, they've done a great job, I think, cultivating a loyal fan base. That Sons of Ben thing has really been beneficial. And the one thing that the Union does, they put their players out there a lot. You'll see Union players out there all the time selling the product, which I think is a good thing. Now, Ari, the Eagles, in my view, definitely the most passionate fan base that's out there. Some would say the most rabid fan base, an unfair fan base. But you have to take that in consideration. Right now, your excitement with the new coach is balanced by the let's wait and see, right? So you're selling that concept. The Chip Kelly thing is exciting to sell, but the fan base is still kind of waiting and seeing, right? Would you say that they're mostly relieved that Andy Reid is no longer here and it's a fresh new era?
I would say that they feel as though it was probably overdue time for a change. So maybe a different way of saying it, but look, yes, without going into, without taking up another panel
No, that's okay. But see, what the point I'm trying to get with the Eagles is, I think they have 1 year of goodwill. And you rarely would see that with the Eagles. They're a demanding fan base. They won playoffs every year. But I think that they're in a position now where they're almost willing to accept a non-playoff season this year because you have a fresh new thing coming in, and you can sell off that, right?
Well, let me be clear about one thing. What you said, and let's hope it's true, we don't view it as a negative effort. It could be after 4 and 12, and the vitriol could be through the roof. And you could be spewing, and other people could be spewing, but that's okay. We're not viewing that as negative, even though sometimes it makes me drive off the road. We view it as a positive. We hope it always is.
I mean, you've even affected me. I'm going to be the anti-spew this year. I am. I really can't get angry about anything the Eagles do because I know this is a process and it's an exciting, fresh new process, and I think that reflects on the fan base. All right. Now, Dave and his crew have done one of the most amazing things in the city. They turned Citizens Bank Park into a fun place to be. They really have. Now, they obviously have a great tool in the Fanatic who makes everybody feel good. But going to the ballpark in this era of baseball, and obviously a success has helped it, but going to the park is a fun, cool place to be. And I think one of the great things you guys did this year, or what maybe it was last year, you introduced it, that Fanatic hat with the tails. It has turned into an unbelievable, and you'll see that in other ballparks all over the place. And so that's really a masterstroke. But the Phillies fan base, right now they're a little ambivalent. But for a 5-year period, Citizens Bank Park was the place to be. And you didn't even have to be a Phillies fan to be there. There were a lot of young women who would go there just because it was a cool place to be. And Lara, I think, has the toughest job in the city because the Sixers are a performance-oriented sell. And I think that is proven out. When the Sixers are really good, fans are crazy about the Sixers. And coming into this year with the Andrew Bynum thing, 2,000 people showed up at the National Constitution Center. And then, obviously the season kind of fell apart. So you're in a position now where you're almost at the mercy of the people building this team performance-wise. So I think you have the toughest job in town right now. I'm totally nice to you at this point. The Andrew Bynum thing affected us all, Lara. Well, one other, regarding that note, what the Sixers did coming into this year, I think was brilliant. You went with the Obama plan as far as ticket pricing. Kept the seats the same for the regular folks and hit the front row people hard. Right? And okay, now, all right, now, for example, that front row ticket used to be, $750? And you bumped it up to $1,000? Some of them $1,000. Now, I got a couple calls from friends who have those front row tickets, outraged that the Sixers had raised from $750 to $1,000, and they wanted me to speak about it on the radio. And I said, you have got to be kidding me that my fan base would be sympathetic to someone who could afford $750 in the first place, and now is complaining that it went up to $1,000. But I thought it was a really brilliant plan, and most of the people who can afford that obviously stayed with you, right? Okay. One thing on Dave Rowan, who used to be the general manager of the Clearwater Phillies. I don't know if you were succeeded by John Timberlake. You were succeeded by him? All right, John Timberlake is the general manager of the Clearwater Phillies right now. Now, you know that name, right? Yes, it is Justin Timberlake's uncle is the general manager of the Clearwater Phillies. And I got into a conversation with him last year on how Justin comes back they're from Tennessee. And Justin comes back and has Thanksgiving dinner with the whole family. But he brings his girlfriend du jour. And so he's telling me one day, here comes Britney Spears, rolls into the Timberlake living room, sitting around having turkey. And then the next year, it's Cameron Diaz. And then the next year, it's Jessica Biel. Now, can you imagine being a family member? You're afraid to eat wrong, right? So immediately, I asked John, who was the biggest slob? And he said it was Cameron Diaz, believe it or not. So there you go. There's a little gossip for you for the future. All right, enough of that. Let's continue with the program.